Welcome, everyone, to the 4th Annual Nevada County Network Improvement Community Sharecase. If you had to describe what makes a great learning experience in just one word, what would it be? You can use one of the words in the box or your own idea, and we ask that you please type your response in the chat. We've got fun, I love it, interactive, engagement, meaningful, supportive, growth, happy. All right, thank you so much for sharing with us. And so many of you know that in 2018, we began this journey connecting directly with teachers working in charter schools and districts across the county. Teachers quickly became very enthusiastic about this type of professional learning because they had the opportunity to not only learn to improve their instructional practice through universal design for learning, but they could also apply their learning through a cyclical inquiry process and collaboration with others. That first year, we had a learning question. How can we implement universal design for learning in a professional development model that allows for continuous improvement in teacher instructional practice? The other thing about that first year is that we focused on creating cross-county cohorts. Teachers from all across the county in different districts and different grade levels could work together and learn from each other. We have 2 cross-county cohorts that we're going to be sharing with you. The first one will be presented on by Nicole Shug. She is a TK teacher in the Grass Valley School District, and she'll be followed by Andrea Conte, who is a teacher at Nevada City School of the Arts. So take it away, Nicole.
All righty. I am the lead for the cross-county cohort, the TK, and we were lucky enough this year to have 2 different schools represented. We had Deer Creek with Antonina Shoemaker and Alicia Morales, and at Scotton we had Ashlyn DeVera with Dana Novi and Betsy Nairmore and myself. So those were the 3 classrooms we had. Our problem of practice that we looked at was really wanting the kids to be advocates for their learning and planning, helping them to be goal-directed learners. So we took their free time and we wanted them planning that time. So that's what we did. Our key focus was strategy development. We did look at all of the UDL frameworks and we did use all of those, but this led itself mostly to helping us help the kids to set meaningful goals and anticipate for the challenges. It helped them to help us, help them stay organized. And so it was just, that was the one that we focused on. Our instructional goal that we used was that students would engage in a plan, do, review process for their free choice and exploration time. Anticipated barriers were emotional capacity, and that's a big one in TK. We're always working with that. Sometimes it's really hard when you can't go to the area you want to, or the toy that you have has already been played with or somebody else is using it. Another thing that's a barrier is language. A lot of our kids don't have the language they need to get their needs met or to express what they want. And then expression, being able to review what they did, remember what they did, and explain out what they did. So those were our anticipated barriers. We used a lot of resources and tools. For emotional capacity, our rooms are pretty much set up for this. We have quiet corners, we have a lot of sensory, we have a lot of areas where kids can go to take breaks, frameworks to help them articulate and reflect on their plans. So those were some of the big resources we used. We did use our UDL frameworks to help us organize our thoughts after every lesson and help us to really know where it is we were going and what we wanted to do next and how we were going to change and kind of mold our problem of practice to make it benefit our kids the most. So in our first lesson, we really felt that we needed to give the children the choice. Are they going to play inside or outside? So the kids were making a plan. We really wanted to do a plan, do, review. And so the kids needed to make their plan. And so in our first lesson, it was choosing whether you were going to go inside or outside. That was it. And we found that some kids couldn't even remember to make their plan. So that was something that we had to figure out. As we went on to our second lesson, we gave the kids more choices. So maybe inside, you could play at a table or at blocks or at the carpet. And then by the third lesson, got to go back one. The third lesson was the picture. It's the cards on the floor. We also used step up to writing format. So the kids were using that to help reflect on what their plan was. So the kids, when they went to review their plan, were able to say, today I chose to go outside. First I, then I, next I, last I, and then they said I had a great day. So it really gave them a framework of how they were going to review what they did. So next, go to the next. Okay, where's our data? Here's our data. What we really were looking for is we really wanted to look at how many kids could actually communicate their plan. Like, what was it they were going to do? And what they wanted to do in that area. So as we went from lesson 1, 2, and 3, we showed growth in all of our classrooms. So that was great. Nice work, team. We used a plan do review rubric that we used, and we tried to focus on 3 students a day. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, sometimes the plan works, sometimes it doesn't. And we would just kind of rate those kids where we felt they were, and we watched that grow over time. So next. These are our 3 different classrooms. So in the goal, you can see in the goal and the plan and the review scores that we did grow in all of those. In some classrooms, you can go to classroom B too if you want. It's a little bit different. The review we didn't start until our 3rd lesson, so that was that's why there's only 2 there. So and then one more, or we actually did it 2nd and 3rd, and then there's one more classroom because there were 3 classrooms. So they all showed growth, which is what we hope for. Right? Or you can go. But I think one of the things that's most important are the testimonials. And I know for myself that being able to be in a cross-county cohort, being a TK, we are often the only teacher at our site that is teaching this grade level. So it gets us into classrooms. I know we have some videos that have testimonials. You can read these if you want, but they, I think it's just being able to work with teachers that are doing the same thing we are and focusing on empowering our students. So that's what I think we really love. So you can go to, I can play the video now. Fingers crossed.
Hi, I'm Betsy. I'm Dana. And we are TK Instructional Aides. We just wanted to say that we have really enjoyed this experience and appreciate being included in this professional development with our TK teams. This opportunity has helped us identify and remove barriers our students face in the classroom using UDL practices.
In the future, we hope to be included in more UDL collaborations.
So one of the things that's really awesome about that is that we did get to work with our co-teachers or our classified people too. And so that really is really empowering because we got to work on something that we're working on together and they got to be included in it. Normally that does not happen. The kids, when I asked them what they loved that they were able to be in charge of their own plans. Like Remy said, it helps her to make a plan because then she knows what things she needs. So, and then I think we have one more video of my friend Luna.
Tell me your name.
Luna.
Luna. And are you a ladybug?
Yeah.
You are a lucky ladybug, huh? Tell me about, do you make a plan every day?
Yeah.
Yes. And what's your favorite thing to do when you plan?
My favorite thing to do is ride on the scooter.
Ride on the scooters. When you make a plan, can you change your plan?
Yeah.
You can? It's okay to change it? Do you like to be chosen to share your plan?
Yeah.
Yeah? And how do you do that?
So first you do topic sentence, then you do first, then you do second, then you do last.
Oh my gosh. And then do you get a cheer at the end? Awesome, Luna. Thank you for sharing.
So what we really did was we're helping these kids with pre-writing skills, even though, they're in TK and we can do it. So that is us. And thank you guys for this opportunity.
Thank you, Nicole. That was a great presentation. I really appreciated the data. It looks like you guys did a lot of hard work. All right, next up we have Andrea Conte.
My name is Marina Codiga. I work at Arete Charter Academy. I teach second and third grade students here at our resource center, where I teach science, social studies, and phonics. And this is my second year in the UDL program.
Hi, my name is Erin Alonzo. I am a 6th grade ELA and history teacher here at Nevada City School of the Arts, and this is my second year participating in UDL.
Hi, my name is Kari Morgan, and I am a 3rd grade teacher at Nevada City School of the Arts, and this is my 3rd year participating in UDL.
Hi, my name is Sierra Elliott, and I teach at Lyman Gilmore Middle School. I teach 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in their special education reading intervention program. And I have been practicing UDL for 2 years.
Our problem of practice started as design options in the environment directed towards a clear goal to develop a growth mindset and sustaining effort and persistence. In September, our team discussed helping students utilize tools instead of relying on teachers as they navigated productive writing struggles. We discussed the importance of maintaining clear lesson goals as we design tools for student use. At the end of our UDL year together, we reflected on our problem of practice and decided to shift our POP to design options in the environment directed toward a clear goal to help students access their own learner agency through sustained effort and persistence. We felt the shift in language was important because growth mindset fit under the UDL umbrella of learner agency, which is specific and inclusive UDL language that addresses the multi-perspective composition of our cohort model.
To observe UDL in action, we hold a pre-observation meeting, go over specific items to observe based on our problem of practice. Once in the classroom, we take objective notes that focus on measurable student actions. We then synthesize generalizations from the observations to see how the lesson addressed potential barriers in engagement, representation, or action and expression.
Common resources that were observed in our lessons include classroom routines and procedures, graphic organizers, anchor charts, including student-created anchor charts, student notebooks, academic vocabulary, as well as common verbal and nonverbal language.
The generalizations we gathered as a cohort supported an inclusive and supportive learning environment where students feel empowered and capable. Establishing consistent routines fostered a sense of security and predictability, allowing students to take ownership of their learning. By providing access to various tools, resources, and supports, design options enabled students to navigate their educational journey with confidence. Thoughtful wait times encouraged perseverance through productive struggle, reinforcing learner agency. The use of academic language helped solidify content understanding, while both verbal and nonverbal communication within the classroom and school community promoted a strong sense of belonging and shared purpose.
This year in UDL, something that really struck me was just how important it is to teach tool use to students, the Chromebook tool use or graphic organizer tool use, and then be consistent in that use throughout all subject matter in my classroom.
My journey with UDL began several years ago at another school district, and from that training, the main idea I took away was the teaching method of I do, we do, you do. And that was kind of what I took with me and held on to. And now, after a couple of years with the UDL cohort, I've begun to understand the elements of UDL more deeply, and its goal being learner agency. So now when I plan my lessons, I not only take into account the objective, but equally weigh how my students will be accessing the content, how they will be able to relate and engage and communicate with one another, and also how they will be able to show their knowledge in ways that are accessible and most natural for them. So, thank you.
As we build our time together, I see improved learner outcomes. My students have gained confidence, engagement has increased, and I definitely see more joy and individual expression in assignments.
I started my UDL journey at the beginning of the 2023 school year when I met a group of like-minded educators from across the county. I started this because I really wanted to learn how to continue to support students who have different learning abilities, who are more than 3 grade levels behind in their academic careers. Where I am now is a great place, and I'm so excited about the UDL 2.0 that we rolled out this year. I want to continue to learn and grow and support all different types of student learners.
We missed the opportunity to introduce Andrea to you. So Andrea, can you just introduce yourself really quick?
Oh, sure. So I'm Andrea Conte. I was the teacher leader for my UDL cohort, which was a cross-county, cross subject, cross age groups and everything.
Yeah. And Andrea has been in our UDL project for the full 7 years. She's a dedicated teacher leader. We love having her. Yeah. All right. And so our UDL journey continued. In year 2, we really blew up, and most of that happened because of word of mouth between teachers. So we're really excited about the enthusiasm and the passion. And our learning question for that year was, how can we spread and scale this professional learning model? And with their help, it just sort of naturally happened. In year 3, we were going full board. We had about probably almost 70 teachers involved in the project. And then our beloved pandemic interrupted everything. But there were great things that came out of that as well. You'll see a picture of a Zoom meeting on the slide there. And basically we just shifted to an online model, but we also became a community of care. And the feedback that we received during that time is that we were really a lifeline. Just having this group be able to come together and talk about their instructional practice during this difficult time was really a lifeline for a lot of teachers. And that learning question was, how can UDL help us pivot and support during the pandemic? All right. And then year 4, we were sort of returning to in-person, with interrupted frequently by COVID outbreaks, if you remember that. And but we started to regain our momentum, and we were able to ask the question, the learning question, how can this model be replicated? Actually, I'm sorry. What we wanted to know, I jumped ahead on my own slides here. What we wanted to know is, how do we know that what we are doing is working? And how do we know we are changing instructional practice and improving student outcomes? And that's when we started to grapple with the idea of, okay, we've learned about UDL, we're starting to implement, but how do we know that it's really making a difference in our students' lives? And that turned out to be not so easy to answer. But Carrie's going to talk about a tool that we used to begin to measure impact on teachers.
Thank you. Our team was excited a few years back to stumble across the UDL implementation rubric created by Katie Novak that allowed teachers to self-assess their current level of UDL implementation. It's a tool we've been using for the past 4 years now, and we've now revised it this year to reflect the changes with the UDL 3.0 framework. And we have some exciting data to share that has come out of this teacher self-reflection tool. With that said, we wanted to share some of the greatest strengths. Of course, as usual, we see growth in teacher confidence in implementing UDL. This year, it was interesting to see that the steady increase was noted amongst returning participants. We also noticed that educators were specifically leveraging opportunities to optimize choice and autonomy in their instructional design, which helps students take more ownership in their learning. This shift reflects not just a jump in improved understanding, but also in terms of how UDL is being implemented on a daily basis as part of our support of removing barriers for students. With that said, we also started to see expanding shift in access for strategies that supported student collaboration and belonging. Teacher used feedback from focal students to adjust classroom structures, leading to higher engagement and stronger peer-to-peer interactions. These areas directly align with our cohort's focus on access and agency goals for our students. But we still have some room to grow. So in looking at our lower scores from the UDL post-assessment data, we found that students do need more equitable access to modes of expression, opportunities to demonstrate their understanding in a way that's meaningful and makes sense to them. We can use the UDL framework to remove bias and offer more structured support for communication and creativity with our students in terms of how they express their ideas and show understanding. With that said, we also took a deeper dive at some of the lowest post-assessment scores, which were in the area of helping students to develop self-direction in learning. Future cycles for our work and our teams should emphasize how students set goals, track progress, and organize their thinking, as we see many cohorts taking on this work today. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share our UDL progression updates for this year. Back to Andrea.
All right. So as our project moved into year 5, we started to get requests from our administrators to implement UDL within their districts fully, and shift from we weren't asked by them to shift from our cross-county project, but we started to do both at the same time. And so we started to ask the learning question, how can this model be replicated within LEAs? And Union Hill was one of our earliest adopters, followed by Nevada Joint Union High School, and then Nevada City School District. So we are going to have some presentations, I believe, starting with Thomas. Go ahead and move forward on the slides, Carrie. Thank you. Yes, so we will start with Thomas from Union Hill School District. He'll be sharing about the work that they've done. Followed by Josie Andrews of Nevada Joint Union High School District. Go ahead, Thomas.
Well, thanks, Andrea. You can hit the next slide, Carrie. So Union Hill has been involved in the work of UDL in our campus for about 5 years, I think. But this year, this image that was taken in August of this year kind of provided the backbone of kind of my vision and our vision as a team. And so what we did in August, the first week of school, is this is a picture of all the students that we have K-8. And the idea of UDL is really, truly everyone can learn. So as we met with our UDL team this year, the challenge was really like, man, we believe this. How do we make that happen? That every single student in August and in the months of October, November, the period of disillusionment for some teachers in March, so that every single month we're in school, students aren't just expert learners, but they have agency and they can learn and thrive and succeed. And so with that in mind, you can go to the next slide. Kind of where we were at with our UDL progression. The first 2 years, Union Hill took an approach that kind of modeled the county cohort, and we had grade level teams. They had their own problem of practice. Last year, we did a similar thing, but we aligned it with an access row on the UDL guidelines. So we were a little bit more aligned. And what we found was we were just a little bit disjointed with that approach. It created some barriers with buy-in. And so this year, we embedded UDL into our systems that we already have for SEL and PBIS. We still have 3 observations, and then we created a problem of practice that could be served K-8 for every staff member, every student, for our entire school community. And that created kind of a system that really embedded UDL, not as just a one thing approach that we did and then we're finished with, but is still continuing right now and hopefully for the next years to come. You can go to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Verhalva, principal here at Union Hill. And one of the lists was really looking at our SEL and PBI system as a whole, creating a system network with the support of our NCSOS team, and not only aligning the work and setting up the work for this year, but really years to come. So this is an example of the work that was done by the team to create a system of our Tier 1 SEL so we can see what we offer on our campus to our students to create joy, belonging, and provide access. And then each year start focusing and being targeted about what we will accomplish together. Next slide.
Thanks. So as we met with our SEL team and UDL team, we kind of invited ourselves and joined forces, and we sat down and really looked at our whole campus after the systems map was created, and saw that, man, we really don't have Tier 1 SEL practices that are in place right now, and it's causing some gaps in SEL learning. It's increasing minor infractions as well. And so that led us to create a pretty basic goal on day one. We're like, man, we just want all students to have Tier 1 SEL instruction. And by the end of our observation cycles, we bolstered that into goal 3. By the end of 25-26, all students will receive Tier 1 SEL through structured curriculum, restorative circles, SEL tools, with at least 90% of teachers implementing with fidelity as measured by surveys, student discipline tracking, and observations. So we're still kind of in the process of that, but that is where we're hoping to head. And as we looked at the learning guidelines, our main kind of focus was the emotional capacity part of this. And with the 3.0 guidelines, we saw that executive functions were one of the biggest shifts in the 3.0. And they were really integrated throughout the framework rather than an isolated section. And we saw that as a teacher in 7th grade math, if a student can't show up and really find kind of that emotional stability and know who they are and how to work with others, it doesn't matter the greatest lesson I can give them, they probably won't be able to access that. So that was kind of the baseline of where we wanted to start. And in line with that, we really saw as an SEL team, the emotions are the gatekeepers of learning, and this is the starting point if we want all students to access academic content, academic work. Starting at this base level, giving them the tools for every student to access it is what we need across our campus this year and next year, and for the rest of the time we're teaching. So the first observation cycle, we looked at specifically kind of just what SEL lessons look like, and we were looking for the things that included all students, tools that teachers used that fostered collaboration. And the first thing we saw in a kindergarten classroom was there were just joyful moments that fostered inclusive environments. There were also consistent language around SEL that students and teachers used. Learning was made meaningful with real world connections. And then we saw community circles kind of embedded into the SEL lessons. And that drove us into the second cycle. With community circles, that's a picture of our first cycle. The second one, we met as a team and we're like, man, what if we had circles implemented K-8? So students had that tool to be heard, to foster belonging. And we observed a junior high classroom and a couple that implemented circles, and we saw the same thing as kindergarten. They fostered belonging. Students built connections. They had responsive cues like snapping, signaling that just showed respect and engagement. And also, there were clear and consistent routines for them that just increased their confidence to share and to be involved. And so we kind of sat down after those two and we're like, man, it's great to have that in the classroom, but what we're seeing is like our students, we really want to dive into the next step of that. Can they bring the content we're giving them in SEL out onto the blacktop, outside of school, in interactions on social media even? And we didn't get to that point. So I'm not going onto Instagram with a middle school student, but we did just go on the blacktop. And our third observation, we observed just staff and student interaction on a break and saw what students were actually saying. And it was pretty neat to dive into little pockets of campus. Students were using SEL language like blue shoe, Rochambeau for decision making, problem solving, belly breathing. That language was existing on campus. However, there was still conflict and disrespectful communication in areas as well, especially when there wasn't presence of a staff member. And so that kind of led us to think our next steps. How do we increase the proactive strategies that students are using in the SEL classrooms so that they are more just accessible for every student outside of the class as well?
So planning for the future, three of our focus areas moving into next year. And as we're working through these, we're already setting the stage for how are we collecting data? What does that consistent data markers look like throughout the school year? And how are we tracking improvement? So planning for the future, providing consistent SEL instruction for all students through second step. And using those UDL strategies to improve the SEL instruction, so our students have access to that, to the SEL tools and instructional strategies that we're providing. Implement community and restorative circles in all grade levels in classrooms. The more we are embedding those practices in the classroom, the more we're seeing them on the playground and social media, as Thomas would say. Embed SEL language instruction into our community circles and all staff to see student interactions. All right.
And I just want to jump in here really quick before Josie starts and say that Megan at Union Hill was really instrumental in helping our team elevate this work from the classroom level to a systems level. Like she really had a great vision in her head. And so we've been able to collaborate and learn from each other. So I'm excited to see where this goes. All right, Josie Andrews, you are up.
Hi there. I'm Josie Andrews. I'm from Nevada Union High School, and I am the teacher leader for the Nevada Joint Union High School District UDL Learning Cohort. This is our second year working together. Oh, Carrie's got me on a timer. So these are demographics of our district, just a little bit of information. So we're coming at this from we worked in 3 different schools. Here's our problem of practice. So we centered our problem of practice around classroom culture and students not being engaged, communicating, persevering, and we really wanted to focus on self-efficacy. And student feedback highlighted that a lot of students didn't feel a very strong sense of belonging, specifically in their math classes. We surveyed all of the students that were taking math classes, and I just thought that this was really interesting data. Many of the students agreed that listening to other students improved their own learning. However, they disagreed that other students would listen to their learning. So this I'll move on. So we looked at some of the barriers in the classrooms. So that was like some of the classroom norms didn't promote a feeling of safety. The way that the classrooms were set up weren't supporting students in their roles. The curriculum wasn't very engaging, and lessons weren't designed in a way that were giving students choice on how to work through their math tasks. So one of the things that we did differently this year and last year was we selected focal students. So we, through these student surveys, we worked with the math team to select students in order to observe and see how our instructional design impacted the student experience with those specific students. So here's one of our focal students, Ava. So when we did one-on-one interviews with Ava, she indicated that she was interested in, her goals were growing confidence in math. I don't think Michael's here, so I'm going to just do his portions. And collaborating and engaging with her peers, sharing ideas, and contributing to the group. So all of the students that we observed were working in groups of 3 or 4. Another focal student is James. So James wanted to increase his engagement by in his groups and be able to feel more confident contributing ideas and asking clarifying questions. We used building thinking classrooms along with the UDL principles to expand access and agency for students like James. When we just with a focal student data discussion, this helped us move away from that deficit-based thinking that a lot of students have when they're struggling in math. And we started thinking about and supporting students and thinking about what they can do and really recognizing their contributions to working towards groups and being mathematicians. And we were designing instruction that values every learner's voice and thinking about that learner as essential to the classroom community. So each student has access. We want to give them access and agency goals. So the focal students develop their mathematical agency, set goals for themselves. When we do observations, we make sure that we have equity commentators in the room that are monitoring those access and agency goals. And we use the UDL framework to look for those hidden barriers that teachers might not be able to identify when they're busy teaching. And we make instructional decisions that support all of the learners. And we, as like I said, we're really looking at those focal students. So in our lessons, our hypothesis helped us clarify what we expected to see if our strategies were effective, and they guided us to look for evidence of increased student discussion and talk and increased use of the strategies that you can see in the slide. So we focused on building thinking classrooms, utilizing vertical workspaces, and 3 question protocols. Oh, thank you. So each student what we wanted to see was each student develop a deeper understanding of factoring by recognizing and applying structure of algebraic expressions. And so during the observation, we looked at the student activity and how it was related to the content goal. These are some of our lesson artifacts. So students, we were able to improve access to math problems and increase student access. So we developed a 1-page coaching resource and implemented that 3 reads protocol from building thinking classrooms. And what we saw as a result that students time on task increased, the number of student generated questions and answers increased, and every group was able to use strategies collaboratively and generate processes for problem solving. So from our debriefs, what we really saw from our UDL debriefs, we noticed patterns of students responding really positively when they had when their voices were being heard, and then they had agency in their own learning, which was really our goal. And we recognize that safety in the classroom and connections with other students were really what students needed in order to feel very engaged in their math classrooms. And we focused on, again, those assets based instead of like deficit thinking. So what we saw was that our instruction shifted from being teacher directed to like more student and teacher directed. Students were more willing to like learn and take risks and persist through some of those difficult challenges when they felt heard. This is just some of the things that we tried for you guys to look at. So first, we thought that students needed more structure to stay on task. And then we kind of, through our process, saw that students thrive with choice and voice when they have access and agency to their own learning. And we thought maybe some of us thought that engagement was all about having fun in class, and engagement, what we figured out was engagement comes from students feeling like their ideas and their identities really matter in the classroom and in the school community. So I think that's the end. It was a very quick 5 minutes.
Thank you, Josie. I know you guys have done so much in-depth work. You can't condense it into 5 minutes. So hopefully people will take a little bit of time and go back and read the slides too. All right, so we're rolling into our 6th year, and we have Kylie Griffiths from Deer Creek, who is going to share the work that she's been leading there as a teacher leader for the project. And they are very specifically looking at the learning question, how do we know that we're directly impacting students? Again, we're still trying to get to the crux of, is UDL directly impacting student academic outcomes? And I think we found a little bit of information about that. So Kylie, take it away.
Thank you. So I am the teacher leader for Deer Creek. I'm a first grade teacher here. How we structured it is each grade level took on a different problem of practice. So we can start with kindergarten. Carrie, if you want to go to the next one. Thank you. This is our lovely kindergarten team. Their problem of practice was looking around writing and how they can support students with their writing, not only handwriting, letter formation, but also the structure of their writing. So they collected work samples with their students throughout the year. Every trimester, they do writing journals with their students. And what they found is that instead of setting up every student's writing journal the same, they were really looking at what their students were doing and how they could better support that individual student. So at the bottom, I have 3 different writing journals. These are from 3 different students. They're all taken at a snapshot in December, but you can see how their writing journals are all set up a little bit differently to support that student with where their learning are. One student is doing labeling with an adult assisting in the writing. One student has lines and they're writing their own sentence, and another student is drawing pictures and the adult is dictating their sentence or their sentences fully for them. So they found also that they were able throughout this process to incorporate more writing into their art projects. I was walking into a kindergarten room today and they have all their art projects up with writing below them that connects to their writing, but it is still meeting students with where they are. We can go to the next slide. Our first grade team focused on math facts. We noticed that students we're looking for support around practicing and learning their math facts. So we did some data collection with math fact test. We gave students a math fact test at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and then we just recently gave them it again, and we were tracking what their how long it took them the first time and what their score was. Instead of timing them, like you need to do this in 2 minutes, we just wrote at the top how long it took them at the top. So you'll see student B, the first time took them 10 minutes and 50 seconds and they got 14 correct. And at the end, it took them 8 minutes and 40 seconds, but they got all 20 correct. Part of this process was also increasing the use of math tools, whether that be 120 charts, number lines, counters, and making those tools easily accessible for students. So not something that they come and have to ask us for, that it's either in their desk or quickly available for them to grab so they can use it when they need. We found that when students have access to these items, at the beginning, all the students are using them, they're needing them, but as we continue this work, less students are needing these tools because the ideas are becoming more concrete and they're feeling more confident in their learning. But just having those tools available for them, they've used them when they needed to. And we go to second grade. The second grade team focused on writing and creating stronger sentences in their writing. They actually had their very last observation today. So I was getting all this info right before this meeting. They really worked on helping students find how they can make their sentences stronger. So they started by breaking down the writing process, mapping out their writing. Okay, let's find the verb, let's find the noun, let's find the adverb. How can we change that? How can we add there? How can we expand the sentence? They showed me these vocabulary books that they're working on. So they're going to have laughed, and then inside there other words that you can use for laughed, or have the word big and other words that you can have for big. And then here you can see just two student examples of their writing about jellyfish and how they were able to really expand those sentences to not just say jellyfish are cool, but to really give us more details and more information within their writing. And our third grade team focused on math and word problems. What was really interesting for our third grade data is they were able to pull information from the last 3 years, so we can really see their students' growth and how the work that they did this year impacted their students. You can see that the students that were scoring in the lower percentile has decreased now that they've done this work around implementing different instructional strategies and working more with students in one-on-one environments rather than trying to provide support in a larger group. And our future plans. So this is Deer Creek's second year of participating in UDL in this format where we're really site-based. We've done 2 years of working with our grade level teams. Our notices is that this work has changed teacher mindsets of what it means to be learning, what it means to be supporting students. It's also increased student agency in their engagement, and it's changed our instructional methods. Some of the barriers we found this year was the time out of the classroom to complete observations. We love the time outside of our classroom to complete observations, but it's also hard when you have students who have a hard time when you're not there. This year, we transitioned to doing half days for our observations instead of full days. Many found that the half days were hard to process all that was done during that time. Also, the half-day observations meant that our routines in the classroom needed to change in order to accommodate when the observations were going to occur so that we had time afterwards. For our pies in the sky, to continue this work next year, we would love to do cross grade level teams so that we could really see what's going on in other grade levels, how we're supporting our students going into those grade levels, what the teachers are doing in the grade levels below us to support the students coming to us. We also would love to incorporate our specialist teachers. We have a reading interventionist, a STEAM teacher, and a special ed teacher, and would love to get their insight in what the work we're doing. And of course, we'd love more time together to further these conversations and further this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kylie. Wonderful. All right. And so we're moving into year 7, which is this year, 2024, 2025. And it's funny because I keep waiting for this to sort of fizzle out, but it just keeps growing and growing. So it's exciting. And I hope it continues to grow after I'm gone, which will be soon. Anyway, moving on. Some of you know that I'm retiring in June, and some of you don't. So this was kind of my baby, and I'm excited to see how great it's been and look forward to hearing about it in the future. All right. So that said, we're really proud that our project also began to be noticed around the state, and we had some of our educational partners reaching out saying, how did you do this? How did you get so many teachers interested in doing this and involved? And so they had information and training opportunities for us, but they also wanted to hear, they also wanted to learn from us as well. And that group was the California Coalition for Inclusive Learning, which was funded with a $10 million grant to support the implementation of UDL around the state of California. So people are taking this work very seriously and want to use it to benefit our students. And so through CECL, a little acronym there for you, we learned about system level implementation that focuses on 4 domains centered around universal design for learning. And those 4 domains are school culture and environment, teaching and learning, leadership and management, and professional learning. And so this led to the creation of our UDL Professional Learning Network, which we started this year, with monthly 1-hour meetings. And so we have some administrators and teacher leaders here to share about that work and where it is leading them. And I think to start, we have Andrea Conte and Holly Pettit from the Nevada City School of the Arts, followed by Morgan Best from the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools Child Development Center, and Carrie Brunt and India Runnell. Is it Runnels? India, I don't know how to say your new last name.
It's Runnels.
Thank you. From John Muir Charter School. So Andrea and Holly, go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to start a little bit. So I'm Andrea Conte. I've been in the program for 7 years. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and why we're here today at our school. And I started just as a regular teacher, checking out what UDL was about. I had no idea what it was. I attended that first year, discovered that it was just good teaching. And I wanted to, I kept going every year, and I kept on telling everybody how amazing the experience was for me and how it was changing my own practice and how it was shifting my mindset. And I'm really lucky to have a very supportive team at school. And we had a few teachers that joined, and then, we saw the changes with the teachers, and then my administration, Holly and Angie, both were really impressed with how our goals and our focus shifted the entire practice and how we were doing even our own observations of our own practice within school. So it changed the mindset of the schools, the system of the school. So as a result, we are able to come up with a new and uncharted territory for us on how we will be implementing this as a school-wide program starting next year. We're kind of working it a little bit, and the support of the county has been invaluable because that is really, really important. The continuity of the program, the support that we receive on trainings, and to be able to understand more in depth what we are learning and how to apply things in our classroom and how to apply them even to our own meetings. We're changing the way we do meetings because of what we have learned. So one of the, Angie's not here today to say, but for her to go to one of these learning experiences, one of the workshops was like an absolute epiphany of what it is that UDL is. And she was a little worried about it in the beginning because she wasn't quite sure what it looked like, but going to these particular training, she came back and she was, I know exactly what we're going. I know exactly what we need to do. This is the best thing that ever happened. And, it just got us all really energized. So I don't know, Holly, if you want to go further and just talk a little bit about how we're going to implement it next year.
Yeah, so I'm a little late to the UDL game. I feel kind of lame for that, but here I am. And what we've been talking about for a couple of years now, when I've been watching the teachers go through their UDL process and get so much out of it, is how we can bring this to our whole school and actually make it like everybody's doing this. So next year, we've been telling the teachers for I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years now, just preparing them, laying the groundwork. This is coming. This is going to be a thing. You're going to be doing this. It's kind of not a may do. It's a have to. And so they're ready. They're prepared, and we have this pretty cool plan to actually kind of do the same model you guys do in the county, which is that cohort model, with under the guidance of 3 teacher leaders and Andrea. And then Nancy from the county will be supporting us through this whole process, where, every few weeks, or I guess every couple months, they come together and we get subs and they do their whole observation cohort, just like it's kind of done in the county. We've put plans that we've blocked out time, we've blocked out substitutes. We've just been working really hard to make sure that everything will be accommodated for the teachers to really get everything they can out of the UDL process. Mostly because we're seeing so many, I shouldn't say too many, but so many referrals for SSTs and 504s and IEPs that we really want to start bringing back those tier 2 interventions, tier 1 interventions into the classrooms. But I think that teachers don't have all the tools, and UDL is the way it should be. So that's what we're doing. Thanks to Nevada County and all my teacher leaders for bringing this and being amazing.
Thank you, Holly, for offering so much support to your teachers as well.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we are too. Okay, up next, Morgan Best from the Child Development Center.
Hello. I'm relatively new to the UDL game as well. I really just learned about it, I think beginning at the end of last year. And I attended the UDL Essentials class. The training, it was an all-day training. And honestly, as I know a lot of you can relate, I'm so busy at my site. To be able to be away from my site for an entire day is a really big ask. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I went, and I'm so pleased that I did. So first of all, the dynamic presenters that are Andrea's team, Annie, Joelle, Nancy, and Carrie, they really brought the information to life, and it spoke to me in a really, really deep way. They were describing learner agency. And to me, that brought me back to the work that I did in graduate school, that was primarily based on Jean Piaget and his idea of constructivism, that children construct their own understanding of the world, and that it's our and that it's our role as a teacher to be there and to facilitate that, but that the child is the one that's driving their understanding and their curiosity. I also was really struck by how well the idea of UDL fits in with a lot of the tools that we use in the world of preschool. So our kind of report cards, if you will, the desired results developmental profile, is a way of observing students and deciding where on a continuum they fall in all of the different areas of development. So mathematical, language and literacy, as well as self-help, and as well as approaches to learning. So it connects very well with that. Another tool that we use is the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale, which is, I'm so sorry, which is a tool that helps us to analyze our environment and make sure that our environment is meeting the needs of our student learners. So counting the kind of the number of books that we have, the genres of the books, the postings in the classroom, making sure that children see themselves in and their families in what the classroom looks like. We also use the teaching pyramid social emotional curriculum called CCEFL. It fits very well with that, as well as the CLASS, which is the Classroom Assessment Scoring System, which is a new state mandated tool that we use that looks at teacher-child and child-child interactions. So it fits so beautifully with the work that we're already doing in preschool. From there, I was able to join the Professional Learning Network. And in that group, I was able to see that UDL is a tool that we can not only use for looking at how our students, how we make the curriculum accessible to our students, and their learner agency, but it also helped me as a supervisor to see how I can increase teachers' learner agency and support them in becoming their best teachers. And it was a new format for me. I just hadn't ever thought about it that way. So it really has changed the way that that I'm able to support the teachers in our program. And then finally, we were able to schedule a series of presentations from Joelle over the course of 4 Wednesday afternoons for staff development. And the highlight of the work that we've done together, and I'm really hoping that this was just the tip of the iceberg of the work that we're doing, and that we can continue on in years to come. But the aha moment that our teachers had was in shifting their view that the barrier to student learning is not within the student. And that was absolutely huge. And it came on the heels of so many teachers going, well, this kid can't do whatever it is that they're asking them to do. So it really helped us to shift our perspective and to shift the role that we have in making sure that every learner and every learning style is addressed within our classroom.
All right. Thank you, Morgan. I really appreciate it. And I think the process that Morgan shared is a good example of how we're able to keep some really core components of this project, and that provides consistency to the process, but also be flexible in accommodating different schedules and needs of different programs. And so on that note, India, and Carrie, you are up.
Thank you. Okay, so our cohort is Nevada County Superintendent of Schools, but more specifically, Carrie, if you could switch to the next slide, it's our John Muir Charter School team-ish. We kind of had our own path. We kind of UDL'd our UDL Community of Practice this year for John Muir Charter Schools. We had myself as the teacher leader, and then I worked with 2 different sites. I worked with our Los Angeles, California Conservation Corps site with Tamis Bierman, and then I also worked with our Grass Valley Earl Jameson site, and our cohort there was Kristen Provost and Josh Green, classroom teachers, and then also Eric Rickel, the instructional aide on site there. Thank you. So our problem of practice is here. And while we're looking over this problem of practice, it's important to think about the idea that to spark engagement in the learning process, learners' unique interests as well as their unique identities, including intersecting dimensions such as race, ethnicity, culture, gender, language, and disability need to be recognized, sustained, and valued in the classroom. It's also essential to acknowledge the remarkable variability in what attracts and engages the learners, what interests them, and what constitutes an environment that affirms each learner's dignity as a learner. And learners, they're going to differ over time depending on circumstances as they grow, gain knowledge, learn skills, as they connect to different dimensions of their identity. And it's really important for this problem of practice in creating a learning environment that welcomes learners' whole selves as a critical step to ensuring learners are able to access and engage with the learning process. And then here is also our instructional goal. We came up with a goal for the entire site of Grass Valley. For the cohort with Grass Valley, it was more of a group, right? Cohort, because there was the whole site. For the one in LA, it was just her and I working on lesson planning, utilizing the UDL framework, and then her implementing the lessons and my observing and getting feedback. So the goal for the Grass Valley site, it was to create a therapeutic program with student agency through individual plans in which the students are invested in their education and post-secondary goals, kind of leaning off of our problem of practice to guide us into this overall site goal. Carrie? So for engagement, what we really focused on was relationship building through daily morning circles, equity workshops, and various community experts. We brought in a woman named Selena May who did some SEL community workshops with our students. We also brought in a PE teacher who also focuses on SEL combined with PE, and also an equity presenter named Jai they all three did these different workshops with the students throughout the school year. We also looked at welcoming engagement through play with arts and crafts, table tennis, basketball, yoga, dance, all different things to ignite excitement and engagement, and giving choice for the student agency. With representation, we gave them agency through curiosity of student strengths. We did interviews with the students, observations with them, and also some interview surveys to have them self-report on how they feel about themselves and their strengths, etc. And then action expression, welcoming engagement through play, again, with all of those same things and allowing them to show what they've learned through those same modalities. And then on this other side, you can see the different resources and tools that we use throughout the project. Carrie? So I have some feedback. Unfortunately, the teachers couldn't be here, but I have some feedback. I have feedback from Josh at the Grass Valley site, and he shared how his instruction has changed as a result of implementing UDL. And he says UDL has been important in refreshing and reminding me to consider the whole student, to take into consideration not just the identified academic progress, challenges, or learning delay, but also the entire complement of adverse childhood experiences and continuing experiences that affect how the student functions socially and academically. UDL has helped me focus on anticipating and reducing or removing the barriers in my instructional style and in the classroom environment itself. As always, it remains a work in progress and a continued practice, but UDL has reestablished a lens to help me look at my teaching in a proactive and positive way. Yeah, it was really amazing actually to see the progress that was happening on that site. And then on the next slide, we also have some feedback from our Los Angeles, California Conservation Corps teacher, Tamis, and she really focused on applying UDL for earth science. So her learning was, my instruction has changed to be more flexible from incorporating universal design for learning. For example, I have a student who hates to read out loud, and I used to insist he read, but now I ask if anyone wants to read, and I also read more. In addition, I was very hesitant to take on teaching earth science, but with India's help with UDL planning, I was able to successfully navigate the first unit about water using the twig videos and accompanying worksheets. The UDL approach, as well as I just lost my place. The UDL approach allows more creativity to find the best path for both teaching and learners. I also incorporated journaling and drawing about water as pre-work for a PowerPoint assignment and presentation on a water topic of their choice. Additionally, the idea of a PowerPoint was influenced by UDL in that it's not the traditional essay, which is still an alternate option, but instead a free choice exploration of how water has shaped their environment. With the PowerPoint being a visual medium and the presentations being public speaking, both are more interactive than writing an essay. Some PowerPoint ideas I will propose are the post-fire Palisades landslides, the Eaton Fire debris runoff, for which these students were deployed to help control, a brief history of the Los Angeles River, the Los Angeles River today, and coastal erosions in Los Angeles. And ultimately, the choice is theirs, and hopefully they'll come up with ideas of their own. So since she gave me her feedback, she has completed this project, and the students were so excited and engaged because they got to choose which waterway they did their report on. And she said that they were so much more engaged than they typically have been in class, just out of this excitement for choosing how they were going to present it and choosing like what they were going to research. Thank you. So just some generalizations that we came across while debriefing about the work that we've done is that students were much more ready to learn and agreeable when given agency. And well, I think it's important to just point out, I got some verbal feedback from the instructional aide at our Grass Valley site, and it was amazing how he was able to take his learnings from our UDL Essentials trainings and apply them not academically, but behaviorally on site and employ student agency when students were misbehaving. And when I say agreeable when given agency, he found that almost every time when he gave them a choice and he allowed them to use their voice, that their behaviors changed and the non-preferred behaviors stopped. And he was just blown away at what a difference it made. Also, students appeared to engage more with the curriculum when given agency. Providing options for the students has helped with the management, like I said, and then also it has helped with the variety of grades and abilities at our Grass Valley site. It's 6th through 12th grade. So that was where we came up with that problem of practice also, because it's so difficult to plan for such a wide variety of ages and abilities. Thank you, Carrie. So just looking at our next steps, we plan to continue to unpack this problem of practice as a team. We have ongoing collaborative planning time once a month. We're going to continue that throughout this school year and really using that problem of practice as our guiding focus. And then continue exploring the UDL framework and what it looks like at John Muir Charter Schools, as well as implement new curriculum that uses the UDL lens at the forefront in the fall 25-26 school year. It's a company called Pitsco that I actually came across at one of the Q conferences, and they have this amazingly interactive curriculum for science that we're going to bring into our Grass Valley site and a couple of other pilot sites. And we're going to continue with site-specific UDL community of practices in 25-26. And I'd like to actually invite you, Carrie Brunt, to just talk a little bit more about what that continued UDL community of practice is going to look like at John Muir Charter School in the coming school year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Indy. I'm happy to comment on that. And first, I just want to thank you, as we've all heard through, India's passion around this work. She truly has brought this initiative to life. Certainly, not only here in our own county, but throughout our statewide charter system. And by doing exactly what we just heard her speak to in terms of elevating the voice and experience of students and staff alike. And it has just been such an honor to see how transformable it has been across our different campuses. We're incredibly thankful for the positive impact that it has had locally as we continue to enhance our programming at our Nevada County Partnership John Muir NCSOS site. So thank you so much, India. And to India's point around the work that we are currently engaged in with each of our respectable regional teams in order to scale this process up in a way that's really meaningful and reflective of the needs of each of our individual 38 learning campuses. And I think a testament to the way in which India and each of our UDL cohort team members has brought this work to life is that we are now also having members of our partnering agency, such as the California Conservation Corps, Youth Build, WIOA, and members of our counseling team who are raising their hand and saying, hey, we want in on this work as well. We can see how it is transforming the experiences of our collective students and how it is increasing meaningful engagement across the board. And so we are currently developing different zoning teams throughout the state that will really mimic the process that India and our collective team have built here in Nevada County. And so I just thank everybody who has had a hand in this for allowing us to bring this great broken approach to our students and staff.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, India and Carrie. It's exciting work to hear about all this. So we have a few minutes left for any questions that people have of each other. You can unmute and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat and we will try to address it there as well. Great opportunity to connect with each other and make plans to share and learn along the way together. This is that uncomfortable wait time they talk about on Zoom. Morgan, are you asking to unmute? No. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any unmuting or any questions in the chat, and so we will go ahead and move on. Annie's going to close us out.
Yeah, I get the fun part to finish us off. So I think as we've seen, there's been just an amazing journey of UDL in this county that's been shifting and changing as we go. And we've got some plans for the future that we're really excited to tell you guys about. So the first one is that we heard a couple of times a few people talk about our UDL Essentials class, and lucky for you all, we're hosting it again next year. We have a date set on September 16th, and there's the flyer there. The registration link is also there. Feel free to share and pass it along to anybody that might be interested in attending. And then also, we already have one site that's hosting us to lead the training on their site, on their campus for their full staff. So if you are here and you're an administrator who's interested in that option as well, there's a link on this slide for you to fill out our PD request form, and our team will come to you to do this training too. The other training that we're really excited to offer is Reimagining a Hero, a UDL 3.0 learner agency and joyful learning training. There were some of us who had the opportunity to attend a shorter version of this training in Stockton at the UDL Summit. And I was one of those people. And I can just say that this training had the biggest impact on me as an educator, as a person. Bigger than probably any training I've been in the last year, I would say. They had me crying at 9 a.m. at a table full of strangers. So although it's UDL, in my mind, this training goes beyond that into a combination of UDL and SEL, and is a great, even if you have people who maybe haven't been in the UDL world as much, this training could meet the needs there too as kind of a different doorway to enter UDL through, because it really does focus on learner agency, identity, variability in that area. Just super important. And also, Edith and Jenna are two of my favorite people that I've had the pleasure of knowing for a couple of years from Santa Clara County Office of Education. And so we are just thrilled to be bringing them here for that. So please share far and wide for this training. The sign up is on the flyer, and we really hope to see everybody there. And then to close us out, we've got our intentional closure, which is what is sticking with you today? As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect. What's one idea, insight, or feeling you're taking with you? And then feel free to either drop it in the chat or hold on to it like your favorite sticker and take it with you as you go. But don't leave yet, because we do still have the feedback form. I'll just share the thing that I'm taking with me. My team knows, and some of the teacher leaders have heard me say this in the past, but that I love the variability of the project this year. I think that the way that things look different across all of these teams is so important for the work, for growing and expanding and deepening the UDL practice in Nevada County. And I'm just super excited for where this is going. So I'll give maybe one more minute for this wrap up, and then we'll move on to feedback.
Tim Reed says, I love how this has spread. I can't keep up with these. Marina's taking away inspiration from all the ways these teams are implementing. John Baggett, an appreciation for all the deep work in UDL. Andre Conte misses her cohort. Julie says she's filled with gratitude for all the hard work being done. Rasnina is taking how impactful Andrea's team is. Oh, thank you, Rosnina, and the commitment. There's a lot more there. Read them.
Yeah.